Welcome to another session of Databytes Enabling AI, where we explore emerging technologies, transforming industries, careers, and the very nature of work. And today we have, we're very delighted to have Mr. Rushabh Shah with us, who is going to talk to us about the skills for finance professionals and how does the intersection of AI and finance happen. A very unique intersection. And to introduce him, I want to first introduce Rahul Shah, who is an IMBA student, fourth year, studying here at Ahmedabad University. And beyond studies, she also has two businesses. I don't know how she manages everything in life, but probably AI is running the other two businesses, something like that. One of them is a garment industry, and the other one is a marketing agency. So thank you, Heer, for being here, and why don't you introduce Rushabh?
Thank you so much. We are privileged to have Mr. Rushabh Shah, chartered accountant and investment banker with over 15 years of experience as a interaction of capital, strategy and business growth. He is in the managing partner at STIR Advisor, a banquet advisor firm focused on M&A, transactions and strategic consultants. He also served as the president of Chartered Accountant Association Ahmedabad for 2025-26, one of the most represent professional body. Rushabh is deeply interested in AI adoption for finance professionals and advise writers and speakers on the business side of technology and capital market. Let's begin this insightful and forward-looking conversation. Please join me to welcome Mr. Rushabh Shah.
So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Rahul. Thank you, Heer, for introducing me. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Rahul, for having me.
Yeah, no, I know, having the president of Chartered Accounting Association of Ahmedabad with us for an AI dialogue is actually very interesting in itself. And all of us deal with CAs as sort of have to do it versus want to do it, right? Because you protect us in a lot of different ways, right? But I'm happy to see that AI is transforming that industry. So in your mind, let's just start from the beginning. I mean, how do you see this changing the functions of finance and the intersection of finance and AI?
So see, finance predominantly has been an industry which is relying on a lot of repetitive tasks, be it probably invoicing, the auditing, the reporting. That's a repetitive task, and that's a core thing which AI does. It automates the repetitive tasks. However, what stands out in a finance domain is your analytical or the conceptual clarity. So what doesn't get replaced or what stays out is the conceptual and the contextual side of things. But however, a lot of repetitive things. So say, for example, doing salaries every month, that's a repetitive task. Invoicing, probably building out reports every month on month. That's where it is, and that's one of the primary reason I see a lot of things happening in the AI space in the finance domain particularly. And if you ask me, this is just the beginning. A lot of finance function are going to be changing in it. Like as early or as recent as a month ago, Claude just introduced new plugins. Investment banking plugin was one of them. I think that was something I took proud that, okay, I had a whole team preparing good IMs, good decks, good one-pagers, and it was like just moved out. Like Claude does it much, much better and much faster.
So, you're talking about two different things, right? One is automating repetitive tasks, which is efficiency, which is essentially saying I can do invoicing faster. It's not replacing invoicing, but it's doing it faster, or reimagining invoicing, but it's again doing it faster, right? But what I think you said about Claude is just, hey, I have investment banking documents from across the world, and here is the plugin. Go use it. It's essentially probably reimagining it in a way that 99% of the investment bankers out there will find it additive to what they were doing, because of the collective nature of its source, right? So in your mind, I mean, where is that part of AI coming into the finance professional? Is it in certain areas? Is it going to just disrupt certain domains completely? What do you think is happening?
To be honest, I don't think so. It's going to replace anything, but yeah, it will make things more efficient. Like be it routine accounting, the finance, treasury side of things. But core finance functions relies on a lot of efficiency, a lot of things to be done faster, effective, and efficient. However, what stands out still out of the AI domain is the contextual clarity, right? Say for example, if I'm running a valuation report or something, a Claude or any tool would do that for me. But then it's on the finance professional to understand and be explainable for that, because the conclusive nature of the numbers that are achieved, cannot be relied on any AI. So when you talk about things, a finance domain, I'll keep it very simple. It has to be like it is getting faster, effective, and efficient.
So, and I'm going to dig into this a little bit, but I think you bring up an important point. I mean, Claude can make you a document, but you need the human in the loop, because otherwise, and bring in the contextual knowledge, right? Otherwise, it'll hallucinate, it'll do things, say things, draw conclusions that may not be aligned with the context of what it needs to be doing.
And one more function, a small sub-function of the finance domain is stakeholder communication. That's going to be very effective. Like as you said, CAs or finance professionals are the ones critical to any organizations. Like we are in Venture Studio, you would be definitely having people, but that communication keeps on happening. Now this is something which cannot be automated ever. So stakeholder communication, along with the explainability of the numbers which AI presents or the output which AI generates is what is going to be critically there. But the functions allied to that, probably the background of all the conclusions that are coming in, that's where the skill set is needed. I should be able to ask the AI what do I want and what's my thought process when you talk about analyzing the finances, a manufacturing versus a service or a trading business. So that's the contextual side of things has to be very critical in there. So I just keep on telling this to a lot of people because I get this question a lot. What all skills are needed for a finance professional for AI?
That was my next question.
Yeah. So I'll just keep it very simple, and because this is something that has actually transitioned and reiterating things, like always chase the fundamentals. The other things are just your addition. They are your tools, your weapons to make you more powerful, more efficient. But always chase the fundamentals. But like AI is not going to come to you and tell that okay, you should be analyzing the numbers this way. It's how you ask the AI tools or the tech tools. That's where how AI will bring out the results.
So again, I mean, let's peel it a couple of layers, right? Because you'll have a team of finance professionals, CAs, and you're suddenly saying, hey, you know, these FP&A reports, these audit reports, instead of taking 10 days, get it done in a day. What are you, and like, how are they doing it? How are you enabling them? What are they learning? What are they really like doing at the heart of their jobs?
Okay, so a small example I'll give that will probably clarify this answer. Let's take about auditing. Auditing is a time-consuming process. So what professionals do is they generally audit 5% of the documentation. The sampling happens 5 to 10% of the documentation, and then they rely on the other extrapolation of the data to be there. Now imagine a team of 5 people auditing 5% of the data in 5 days. What AI has enabled is you are now able to audit 100% of the documentation with 2 people in 1 day. Right? That's where it gets very easy for it. Like right now, providing a sampling method, sampling technique was the skill that everybody was relying on until it was done manually. Now what AI has helped us is like if you want to probably check out everything, you can do it 100%.
And what do you use for that? How do you do this?
So at our office, and what we have done is we have integrated the Claude skills. We have actually taught the system, given all the context of the past, the last 15 years. We have taught the system, the Claude co-work, as well as a couple of more tools. We have integrated the APIs into a tool which builds business models on its own. So say for example, if you're asking, I want to build a business model for 5 years, like how are we going to do that? What are the revenue criteria? What is it and everything? We have trained it because we have made more than 500 business models in the past. So we have trained the model, we have taught them how to do this. And now it's like, okay, like I can build a model right now, and by the time we are ending up the session, you'll have the model ready, which essentially used to take a week for the team.
So the audit example is very fascinating, right? Because in audit, essentially you're trying to, and maybe you can explain what actually happens, but you're looking at data and you're trying to find inconsistencies. You're trying to find issues or challenges with how the law has been interpreted versus how it should have been done, and finding ways to sort of explain certain things. That seems very hard when I think about it, to be for you to train a model to do it, because there are just so many outliers.
Yes.
So how can you be confident of getting that result, or what makes you confident? Maybe that's the right question.
On the flip side, when I'm relying on a human to be auditing this with the outliers that you mentioned, I'm relying on that person's productivity at R number 1 versus R number 8. I'm relying on his skill set. I'm relying on his speed versus today. I'm not telling that it's going to or it takes up like 100% efficient results, but okay, based on that person's experience of the past, on the criteria that he or she has evaluated all of the previous clients, the context is set. Like, okay, this is a company of manufacturing. We want to probably understand what's their operating margins, what are the things, and we want to evaluate these things, be it the invoicing, be it the pricing, the costings and everything. That contextual clarity, when given to the system, that gives out a really, really good product, which earlier also was possible, but the difference was it's like 10 days versus 5 hours. The delta is quite huge out here.
So now and I'm gonna push on this just for a couple of more, interesting questions, because this is fascinating. One side of me thinks companies like EY and PwC, who have half their revenue or even more than half their revenue is based on auditing, big companies. What happens to those professionals, so those CAs? Do you need less CAs? Will the revenue decrease because of it? What's going to happen there? And the other part is going to be, how defensible does it stay from a government perspective? Because all these, or how confident are you to write your name? Because you have to say, hey, this is audited by me, right? I mean, you're essentially putting your name down there, while everything is done by AI.
Yeah.
So both those questions, whichever one you want to take first and second.
I'll go for the second question, like how defensible. Okay. The system is actually doing the work which I actually want the system to be doing. I'm just not replacing, but I'm just complementing the humans with this technology, right? So say for example, a person A in my office can do the same thing. I have no doubts about that thing. What this system does for me here is it effectively brings out the points which I ask it to. Because I cannot be a generic, okay, I cannot be pushing in like, okay, you take this 1,000-page document and just audit it. That's not how it works. And there has to be very custom workflows, there have to be very custom questions, a very specific aspect to the output that I want. And that makes me confident when somebody writes it, okay, like this is how I wanted it. When you talk about audit, a bit of going into the granularities, it is also like there's a disclaimer also that happens, like we have relied on the system or the documents given to us. Now, while the job doesn't say like EY and everything, so the reason I took this is because this comes in the flow. Say for example, we are sitting in Ahmedabad and there's an office or a manufacturing hub in Pune. Let's say for an example, I'll still need people to be going there and validating and understanding the processes out there, the physical verifications and everything. Again, I was carefully listening the previous session. I think someone of you asked about the physical AI or the robotics. Right. So that's going to be the next phase, right? Because at this point when we are talking, we also work in robotics. We've just started to work in robotics in the financial domain. So give an example, like how many chairs are there? It's easy for a human to be counting it right out here, but that can be easily done by robots. And these are stationed out.
It can be done by a video camera and just add it up.
But these are stationed. Now let's say the project that we're working, they are into cold storage. There are tons of potatoes. So the storage facility, they has 200 tons of potatoes. How can you manually verify it? It's impossible. Humanly impossible. 200 tons is humanly possible. So that's where the physical AI will also come place. That's where the future is shaping up. But again, to understand the fundamentals is the core essence. That's going to be always there.
So what about the EVA and the PwC question?
They will definitely be expanding their services. The top line increases for sure, because this helps them expand their reach to bigger markets, bigger revenues. At the current stage, what these big fours or big six or big tens are doing, they are not catering to certain clients which are below a certain criteria, because they cannot afford to do that. That level opens up for them. So with the same set of people, upskilling and upscaling them, they open up newer areas. That's what this is doing there. And I think we were talking, a lot of consolidation is happening.
Yeah.
We'll see more and more consolidation happening. The audit. Yesterday only there was a very good research paper I was reading now. Most of the consulting firms are now going to separate out two divisions, the assurance and the auditing and the other advisory. Because these two are moving in the different directions.
Yeah. So I have to ask this question, right? The CA curriculum hasn't changed, right? And neither, and if I wanted to be a CA today, at probably end of my career of some sort, right? I don't need to sit through the exam. I don't need to be a valid CA, but I can, if you are right, I can be a part of your firm with critical thinking and just come in and do the same things. So where do you see that intersection evolving? I mean, some of these things are a plug-in, right? So like, for example, we were growing up, it was, World Wide Web came out, and we had to learn how to type www and http -- Nobody does that anymore. I understand, but at that time we had to learn those things and how to navigate that. So is that where it is going? Like, ca.com and you're just done.
At this point, the Chartered Accountancy Institute in India is already upscaling this. There are AI courses that are done. We are being taught Python. Okay, I was listening to Jeremy, vibe coding. We are taught. There are certification courses which teach us how do you use anti-gravity, that uses how to use Google AI Studio, Python, Lovable, Emergent. There are courses defined because the need is there. Everybody has effectively understood the need. However, it is like just building a layer over it and trying to bring more out of it. Because while studying, see, CA, everybody knows, and we have heard, you would also have heard, like it's a very difficult course to be passing it. The reason is, you are being taught the same way to all the 100 students. However, the understanding capacity of every student is different. What AI helps is, you understand in your way, you understand at your own pace, and you understand at your own comfort. That's what it is changing. So we will see more CAs coming out because certifications have to be there. That's where it's going to be there.
Yeah, and it's fascinating, right? So the parallel that I was thinking, and maybe we'll move on to the next topic, but before the calculators came, you had to do handwritten calculations, right? And then everybody's like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And then computers came, and then something else changed, right? In this type of situation, there are parts of what you're talking about, part of your skill is critical thinking. It's sort of looking at results, contextualizing. That is a different training than just doing the math and doing the calculations, which a lot of other things can do it. You don't need to actually know those things.
Yes.
And that's a very different evolution. I mean, I think, would you then require all the math exams while someone else is already doing all the math?
The exam structure would change in this case, obviously, because everybody knows. The day when I cleared CA, we were manually totaling.
Exactly.
Ask anybody, I think we have students. Without a calculator, try to total out probably 100 items. I'm not sure how many can do that.
Yeah.
Or rather, they can do, but it is going to take a lot of time. So things have evolved. You gave the example of calculators. There's a wonderful, I think New York Times or some, there's an article, probably you can find out on image. Like, actually the maths teacher revolted when the calculators came. They were out on the streets. You cannot use calculator and everything. That's there, pretty much there. You can find out on the videos, on Google and everything. But that's how things have evolved.
Yeah, no, and it's fascinating, to get your perspective on how the professions are embracing this change. It'll all be at different pace, different sort of structure. But what you are doing for your company, for your teams, and for the profession in general is very forward thinking, because this is a core profession to everything, essentially. I mean, it's at the heart of any business. Do you make money? Did you not make money? And can you prove that you made money or you did not make money is critical, right? So for any profession, having the right CA, CFO is very critical.
And one more thing I think we all know, like say for example, there are equity markets, commodity markets. Talking on the personal front, you cannot be awake 24/7, capturing everything and doing everything. AI does it much faster. You see opportunity, AI can definitely push on this opportunity. However, the final judgment stays with you, but at least you will have the opportunities to be tracking everything, because human will have one capability, like it will have an end to thinking a lot, but AI doesn't have that.
Yeah, it's working while you are sleeping is a is very interesting way to think about it, right? I know, we have Jeremy here, CEO of Venture Studio, and very enterprising individual. He's done a lot of interesting things here for Ahmedabad University and for Ahmedabad in general. So I would love for you to ask a few questions. I know you come at it from a very different angle.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. And thanks, Rushabh, for being with us. Before I get into the AI and CA combined question, foundational question, we work with a lot of early stage entrepreneurs, student entrepreneurs, even at the idea stage. What is some advice that you would give, things that are often overlooked at that early stage, that is really important for entrepreneurs to consider, whether it's the structure of the business, if it's an LLP or a private limited, or looking forward to the kind of capital that they'll need as they grow, the structure, the equity. What are some pieces of advice that you can give to these student entrepreneurs, early stage entrepreneurs, when they're just getting started, and in the context of a company foundation and
choose curiosity over comfort. AI has given that comfort. For me to be sitting in, probably charting out, okay, what it should be a company or an LLP, this should be my equity structure, this is my valuation, I can just probably do a keyboard and it does it. But no, that's not how it works. The fundamental thing is curiosity. You have to be curious, like what's the outcome that you want? Like, probably you have to understand that, read, understand the context of the global work. Like say for example, today if a student is wanting to build something, like okay, the first thing is curious, okay, how many people or how many companies are building in the same segment as us? Indian companies, first of all, how many listed companies came out of it? Then go to the global side. What are the global private companies which did this? How many got listed at the global stage? That gives you a complete chart map, and that gives the absolute clarity at the early stage. But that curiosity needs to be there. AI definitely will help you a lot of things, but the moment we choose comfort, like okay, I can sit and do things, that's not how it works. And very honestly speaking, irrespective of whatever technology or AI comes in, businesses cannot be just built by sitting in AC offices. You have to be out in the market, talking with the customers. That I don't think so any AI would be able to replace. Though there are outbound calls and AI companies doing that, But again, you have to be there, out there, talking to the customers, because they are the ones who are going to pay you. That is the fundamental, the core foundation. Customers are the ones who are to pay. So we have to be talking to them.
So curiosity, getting out in the field. What are some big pitfalls that you would suggest and how to avoid those?
The fear of failure is something which I have been seeing in a lot of individuals or entrepreneurs. I have been a startup. I had my own startup way back, but the fear of failure which I was seeing is huge out here in India. People worry, like they don't have the patience. Like everybody wants to be a unicorn in 6 months. I mean, how is this possible? Like it's humanly impossible. And as we were talking yesterday, I was reading Meta acquired Moldbook. So probably Meta acquired a company which is onboarding, which is a social network only for AI agents. If you are a human, you are not allowed to use Moldbook. And a company being run by humans, which is Meta, acquires this. That is the trajectory we are changing in. So the fear of failure is something which is there. Be out, be curious, be out in the market. If technology has helped you reduce your working time, has optimized you, use that for doing market research. So it's an unknown story, right? Like if I'm given a 10-hour job, like I have to complete something in 10 hours, like I'll probably park my 6 to 7 hours doing research so that I can do the effective thing in the next 2 or 3. Right? That needs to be understood. Unfortunately, media doesn't show the harsh reality. Failures are not celebrated in India, right? So I think that has to be understood.
Okay, so now the AI side, you were speaking about how your team is using Claude co-work and how that can spin out these financial models much faster. What are ways that new businesses can set up their data stack, or how they manage their documentation online, offline, in order to maximize the tools that are out there, whether it's a Claude or a Gemini or ChatGPT? How should they be setting up their documentation in order to maximize the outputs?
Probably the first step is to select the most ideal technology that is suited to your organizations. That's a step number 1. And now talking about the data stack, it's all important. Be it your own business, you're not willing to raise funds. Even if you go for a bank loan, you go for a private funds, you go for a fundraising, you go for an M&A or an IPO. The possible 4 or 5 scenarios of a business. A proper integration of data stack is needed, irrespective of the tool that you use. It has to be very specifically documented. So co-work that does for us, probably structuring everything in a proper manner, ensuring corporate governance in our routine operations is what an AI can help in. Maintaining the documents, maintaining the physical side of documents, maintaining the virtual documents, structuring it, building good models, building MIS systems in our things. This is something which every company does it through humans effectively, but they'll know this. So on the data stack, I think a proper structuring, considering yourself as a globally competitive company or probably a globally listed company, you have to be structuring way right from day one. That's how it does it. And honestly speaking, AI does it much faster now. Earlier to that, it was quite difficult. Like I know a guy, finance, they are into tendering business. They apply for tenders. That's how their business. Documentation is huge. They were having 6 people to handle documentation. So if that's a tender, all these 6 people will start working. Okay, we have to capture this, everything. But that's now effectively done by just one person now.
Well, thank you, Rushabh. I'll hand it over to here for some questions.
So the basic questions that we have is like, we are young professionals and we don't know how to keep the bookkeeping and how to record the records, that if we have used 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees in our business, so how to record that and how to use AI to optimize that things for us.
See, these are fundamentals. As I said earlier also, you cannot do a bookkeeping if you don't understand the core fundamentals of accounting. You anyhow would need to understand what's a cash flow.
Okay.
Unless you don't understand what's a cash flow, don't use AI. Then it's basically just a tool which is giving and you're relying on it. So first of all, the core fundamentals has to be cleared. AI gives you that power to understand, okay, how it is done. Understand it. Even if you're a non-finance person, you can understand it very easily. What is cash flow? How is cash flow managed? How is bookkeeping done for this thing? Everything is captured out here. So you have to first understand the fundamental side of things, and then probably you can use a lot of tools. See, again, I understand being young, it is overwhelming to see a lot of things coming in. But the moment you feel that, okay, these all things are there, I think you can just try it out. Like all the tools effectively give the same results. But please, one thing as a student, I would say is just be fundamentally very strong in whatever you're doing right now.
Okay.
Right? Bookkeeping is the first question. If I was there, like, why do we need bookkeeping? What is the fundamental? And what is the scenario? Bookkeeping versus a cash flow and everything. So we have to understand that. I think 10 years ago, or rather 6 years ago, before the CI things and everything came in, I was taking sessions on Excel in our CA association. I was teaching these formulas. It's done now. I don't know it's needed anymore. Right? I don't think so. It will be needed anymore. Excel has now inbuilt features. The Copilot is already there.
Yeah.
ChatGPT also has ChatGPT for Excel. Claude is already there. It's done.
So part of bookkeeping is already done. You just say 1,000 rupees for tea. It'll put it in the right allocation and be done with it.
Anecdote of what you said, like you started coding a year ago.
Yeah.
Make your own app, or whiteboard an app, which will
do
keep
that.
on you just keeping like how much did you spend, where it is. It will give you records on its own.
One final question: if we are not a CA and we want to enter your space, so what is the basic thing we can do? And we are AI pro also.
So okay, CA or as a matter of fact any finance degree is just a way to provide you an entry point to the corporates or wherever you want to work around, right? These are the tools that can aid you help that.
Okay.
AI are going to be the tools, but the core thing is like, okay, if you're interested in finance, probably do a CA, CFA, CPA, whatever it is. You'll have to learn it, the fundamentals. Analytical thinking will never go away. Also, say for example, you've fought out, like say, you have done all this bookkeeping and everything, and at the year end, you are thinking around. You will have to ask it like, okay, where am I going wrong? Why is this expense is high and everything? That thinking will stay with humans.
Okay.
No system will be able to teach you that, okay, you should not be doing this, because they don't understand the context that we are living in. Yeah. Right? That's how it works.
Thank you for the insightful insights. I'll hand over to Rahul.
So this has been very fascinating, right? And I think after all this dialogue, I do have one other question. In the future, in your team, do you see a different structure happening or than today? Or what do you see?
In my organization, we just had a split, like, because we are in tech from day one, like not just right now, but even 2017-18, because that's where the GST law came in India. So we have tech and non-tech. The ratio of people was 10:1. 10 people in non-tech versus 1 in tech. So for every 10 people, there used to be a guy who is tech friendly. This ratio is going to be splitting. So it's going to be 3 in tech, 2 in non-tech, because the core sales will be done by these guys. We'll need people who will be doing the core sales, the analysis and everything. So that ratio is flipping. The 10:1 is shifting to 2:3. That's where I'm seeing the shift happening in our organization at least.
And it's also, I mean, I don't know, maybe it is a underlying theme that instead of 10, you're looking at 5.
Yeah.
Maybe that's...
Absolutely, that's surely going to be there.
So the competition for the 5 versus the 10 is very different than it used to be, right? It's not about just, there are not going to be 100 jobs, there are going to be 10 jobs that have 100 applicants.
The only way, that's what I tell in my organization, the only way to save yourself from probably a layoff is you have to upskill and upskill.
So, very fascinating. I hope, we actually create 10 more jobs after we upskill and upscale to, in terms of, like you said, right, the EY example or the PwC example, where they will actually be able to cater to a bigger audience, a deeper audience. We'll be able to get to a, like do things broadly more for individuals who don't have access to this type of services. But no, this was good. Thank you very much for being here. I know we drove right into sort of where is the intersection of AI and finance. We talked about how you have developed your organization technologically so that your teams are more efficient, your activities are very efficient. The whole profession is moving in a different direction, which is great, and it's actually changing dynamics of how CA as a profession is going to change and embrace AI and embrace how things are going to be done in the future. So thank you very much. Thank you, Heer. Thank you, Jeremy, for being here, and thank you, everybody.